afternoon and welcome to the People's Voice on Voice of the People television, where we amplify the voices, perspectives, stories, and concerns of everyday Nigerians while discussing issues of interest to Nigerian citizens. My name is Adefunke Jaisimi, and today on the show, as Nigeria continues to navigate the complexities of economic reform, the Tinubu administration's bold decision to remove fuel subsidies has continued to spark intense debate and scrutiny. On one hand, proponents argue that this policy aims to redirect resources towards critical infrastructure and social welfare programs, thereby stimulating economic growth and reducing inequality. According to official reports, the federal government has saved over 1.5 trillion naira in the past year alone, a significant windfall that is being channeled towards various development initiatives. But how is this money being shared across different tiers of government? What implications does this have for the states and local government and ultimately the people, citizens, Nigerian in the citizens? In this context, it is imperative to examine the rationale behind the subsidy removal policy, its impact on government's finances, and the resultant allocations to states and the local government through the Federal Account Allocation Committee, Faac. By delving into Faac reports, we can gain valuable insights into the revenue streams, expenditure patterns, and resource distribution across different tiers of government. And as citizens, it is essential to understand the roles and responsibilities of each level of government, from federal to state to local, and how they impact our daily lives. By so doing, we can hold our leaders accountable, know where to channel our energies, demand better services, and contribute to informed decision-making processes that shape our collective future and children of Nigeria. The younger generation who we are working tirelessly to ensure have a country that they can be proud of. And we are hopeful that things change or get better at this time. But in this special segment today, it's a very special one because we would embark on a data-driven exploration of the subsidy removal policy, Faac allocations, and government responsibilities from federal to state to local governments. And through analysis, comparisons, and expert insights, the idea is to provide a nuanced understanding of the issues at play and empower citizens to engage in meaningful conversations about our nation's progress. Because you are very important in this conversation, do well to call in or text us on 090-447-32-605 to let us know what your thoughts are. You can follow us on social media at VOPTV Live and tweet us using the hashtag People's Voice on VOPTV. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV. Kindly hit the subscribe button and let's make our voices heard and shape the narrative that affects every one of us. It's time to go on a quick break and come back stronger as we dissect these issues and more on People's Voice. Please stay tuned. Many thanks for staying with the People's Voice. It promises to be a great program today, trust me. We focus on something very important to Nigerian citizens because Faac allocations directly impact the funding of essential public services and infrastructure projects in our communities. And understanding how these funds are distributed and utilized can help us as citizens to hold government accountable for efficient resource management, to demand better services and infrastructure, and to also make informed decisions about our community development, knowing who and where exactly to channel our energies and questions. The topic today affects citizens' daily life, every one of us, from rural to urban settings, from road conditions to healthcare to education. By staying informed, it's going to be informative for Nigerians to know how to engage in a more effective way when it comes to governance and advocate for our needs. So let me start by breaking down the parameters used in distributing Faac allocations to Nigeria's 774 local government areas. And in terms of allocations, reports say that Faac has disbursed 1.42 trillion naira to LGAs in the first 5 months of 2024, representing a 47% increase from the same period in the year 2023. This significant jump is attributed to the subsidy removal policy, which has generated over $84 billion for the federal government, enabling increased funding for critical infrastructure projects. Comparing state allocations before that to after subsidy removal policy, in the year 2022, states and local government areas received 4.792 trillion naira. In the year 2023, they received about 6.16 trillion naira. That's about 28.6% increase. And yes, 2024, states and local governments are projected to receive 15.26 trillion with 9.85 trillion naira allocated to them. That's 3.42 trillion naira higher than what was received in the year 2023. So that takes us to notable trends in Faac allocations across different regions in Nigeria. The regional trends are, for the North, states in the North have seen significant increases in Faac allocations. For example, we see Katsina State received a 50.57% increase, while Sokoto State got a 49.20% increase. Kano State's allocation rose by 45.16% to 152.34 billion naira. Come down to the South. The South has also benefited from this increase. Lagos State saw a 59.6% increase to 253.92 billion, while Rivers State received an 8.86% increase to 316.51 billion naira. However, there are speculations about other states in the South region. In the East, we have Eastern states who have also seen notable increases. There is the Abia State's allocation, which rose by 50.5%, while Anambra State's allocation increased by 42.13%, and Enugu State's allocation surged by 42.82%. This according to reports made available. And yes, for the West here, Western states have also benefited from Faac allocations. Ogun State's allocation rose. There is Osun State receiving more, and yes, Oyo State allocation also increased by over 40%. So the key observation in all of this is the fact that Faac allocation formula considers factors like equality, population, land mass, and social development needs to ensure fair distribution. I need to go into these details because a lot of people would or might just be wondering why some states have to receive more than others and what are the parameters. There is also the oil-producing states who will receive a 13% derivation, which can impact their allocations. And states with higher revenue generation efforts may receive adjusted allocations. The total allocation to states increased by 27% to 4.5 trillion naira in 12 months, with 12 states receiving an increase of 40% or more. That's quite impressive. But what is of importance to us as citizens is how does this get to the last person in the country? It's not about figures or numbers, but I won't be able to do this in details. Joining me to analyze this topic and shed more light on questions that a lot of citizens have to ask is Mr. Taiwo Ajakaye, a renowned IT consultant, network and system administrator with a passion for public commentary and analysis. With experience in the tech space, he has a keen eye on societal issues. I'm sure if you're active online, you will see how he has constantly been giving out information as to what the expectations are for citizens when it comes to holding leaders accountable from federal to state and to local government. Mr. Taiwo brings a unique perspective to the table. Good afternoon, Mr. Taiwo.
Good afternoon, Ade. I need to check if I'm audible enough.
Yeah, very, very audible. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, very good. Good afternoon. Thanks for this opportunity to discuss.
Yeah, thank you so much for agreeing to do this with us. Let me not go into details. It took a while, but I'm glad that you are here. Let's talk about the Faac allocations. First, what do you make of the current ratio for Faac allocations, and how do you think that this allocation formula can be improved to better address the needs of different states and local governments in Nigeria?
All right, thank you very much. Now, you're talking about the current Faac formula being used.
Yes,
The honest truth is, talking about that now shouldn't will not yield anything. The reason being that that is the law at the moment, and it is better to focus on what we have at the moment instead of pontificating on what we don't have. Even at the moment, what we have is what we should be asking questions about that. This little, about 20 something percent that is meant for the local government, for instance, where are the effects, especially in our wards where all of us live? So
definitely.
if I were to, yeah, if I were
Definitely,
to have my own,
we're going to come to that. I just wanted to know what your thoughts are on the current ratio being
yeah,
used.
yeah, yeah. In my own view, and many people would have said that it's still lopsided. Lopsided because if you're giving the federal government, you remember that the Federal Republic of Nigeria is made of the three tiers: the federal government, the state government, and the local government. And all of us that is assumed to be over 200 million population
Right.
we live in the local governments, we live in different wards. And what practically affects us daily are based in our wards in the local government, not at the federal level. So, in my own view, the 50 something percent that is meant for the federal government is still on the high side. And you can see how long the tax issue has been on ground almost 2 years now. We're still on the issue of trying to readjust that. And at the end of the day, let's see how that happens, let alone coming down to the fact. And obviously, I'm sure that they will come back to that.
All
So
right.
let's focus on the one that we have at hand.
Okay, let's focus on what we have at hand. That's a very brilliant one. But let's talk about Faac allocations and government responsibilities, because I mean it's that responsibility that would determine what gets to the people. Let me start by asking that who receives Faac allocations and what are the criteria for distribution? Because the show is People's Voice. These are questions on the mind of average Nigerians. So how do we know as citizens who receives the Faac allocations? What are the criteria for the distribution? You've talked about the federal government and the local government being the closest to the people, but how exactly does this distribution work?
Well, I think in your introduction, you've actually broken those things down. The one that goes to the federal government, the one that goes to the state government, and the one that comes down to the local government, which in my opinion should be our main focus. Should be our main focus because whether you like it or not, the removal of fuel subsidy and the unification of naira dollar dichotomy affected all of us, having it at the different level. Now, if we want to have dividends of that removal within the next, unfortunately, it's already 2 years now, which I personally, if you checked my public views from day one, I'm talking of June 2023, my views have not changed. I believe that what we need at the local level is not just a distribution of rice and beans. I have always believed, and I have said this over and over from May to June in particular, in June 23, that what we need is for this thing to cool down and for us to follow it up, especially the labor union and other NGOs, that if we can do this progressively and in a proactive manner, we'll begin to see it, okay? Because now, let me put it this way. The federal government has their own share, which is above 50%.
Yeah.
The state government has theirs. The local government has theirs. Our major consideration and focus has always been with the federal government.
Right.
Unfortunately, today is 10th of 11th
11th of
of
June,
June,
2025.
11th of June, for example, I can easily say that most people have not even traveled the federal route because it's not yet weekend, except for this past week we had several holidays. Okay, outside that, in your local environment, whether you like it or not, you must go out in the morning,
True.
be it to your office or you're taking your kids to school, and you must hopefully return home. That means that your local road is what you must by force use twice a day. That means what really affects you mostly, which should be our focus, is that which comes down to the local level, and that is where the issue of local government allocation, federal account allocation to the local government comes in,
Right.
which I believe that we've not been paying attention well enough to.
Yeah, a lot of attention has not been drawn to that particular topic. And I mean, you are doing so much educating the people, enlightening people on how these things, how these funds are disbursed. But yeah, the reality is a lot of Nigerians do not totally understand how much responsibility lies on the local government, the state government, or maybe they are not able to differentiate what the roles of each tiers of government are. But tell us more. What are the responsibilities of the federal government, state government, and local government in utilizing Faac funds just so we can be able to move to these local government funds?
Oh, thank you very much. I think in most cases we there is this costly assumption that everything we see around us is the responsibility of the federal government. For instance, when we keep talking about out of school children, mostly we're talking about primary school. Primary school is not a function of the federal government, it's down at the local level, and we keep seeing out of school children at that level. That function is primarily for the local government, and we have 774 local governments, and by implication, we're supposed to have 774 chairmen in Nigeria that will be administering that along with their councillors.
Right.
Now, what that implies, that is education. And the local roads, when most of us cry about our cars breaking down almost every week, if not every 2 days, I'm sure that none of us go to federal road every day. It is because of the local road in our wards. And those roads that we're crying about every day belongs to the local government, not even to the states. The reasoning is simple. The entire road network in Nigeria as of today, the maximum that the federal government, that belongs to the federal government, based on the constitution, is around 35%. So the remaining 65% is within the states and our local communities. It means that if we want to come out of this quagmire, our focus should actually be in who is expected to take care of this my local road. That is one question.
Okay.
Are they financially enabled to do that? If the answer is yes, where is the money? If we cannot trace that, the question is why? It's one thing to assume that they should do it. It's another thing to discover that no, it's not just a matter of doing it. It's actually a matter of getting it done because they have capacity to do that. That is the second aspect of it. And the last aspect of it, which is also primary to us, is the primary health care center. So, Ade, what we are for, what every day we go to, for example, in UCH in Ibadan,
Yeah.
and we are making noise about having malaria, we're running to UCH, which is tertiary healthcare center. They are not primarily meant to attend to us. It is a tertiary healthcare center. The primary healthcare center at the local level, which is at the local government level, is where we're supposed to run to as soon as anything happens around us. And because we've abdicated our own responsibility of taking our local leaders to account, they also understand the game by pointing finger to where it's not necessary, because since ignorance is available, everybody must use it to its
Right.
advantage. Yeah.
Okay, I like how you've explained how these things work. You talked about education, saying that primary education is supposed to be the responsibility of the local government. There's a part of our local roads, which you've also established that only about 35% is supposed to be the responsibility of the federal government. And also providing healthcare, the primary health centers are supposed to be the first go-to point for us when we have issues with our health. But I mean, the situation is not the same right now. But it's important that we establish the fact that you also mentioned that who is supposed to do this thing is one question we should ask, and if the funds are available. We know how this drama has been around local government autonomy in the country, how a lot of state governors, as a matter of fact, use local government councils as a compensation grounds for their own loyalists, thereby making it more of an extension of the governor's office. But how do different tiers of government collaborate together to ensure effective service delivery and development? I mean, since they most of the time work hand in hand.
Okay, thank you very much. Now let's be clear about this because there has always been this accusation about local government council chairman being the appendage of the state governors. Now that's reality that we find ourselves in. But the point is not whether you are an appendage. If the governor has his younger brother as the local government chairman, as long as it is constitutionally acceptable that that person is a Nigerian and it's been constitutionally sworn in. Then my problem is not how you got there in the first instance. My problem is do your job.
Right.
Simple. Now, for example, Oyo State has 33 local governments.
Okay.
It means Oyo State is supposed to have 33 local government chairmen. Now, we don't want to go around the drama about the local government stuff right from the day of President Buhari. You remember that there was an executive order that he signed,
right.
And the state government, irrespective of party affiliation, they took him to the Supreme Court to interpret the law, which was the right thing. And they won because it's always been that this autonomy that you guys are talking about, the fund must come to the state government. Fine, they won. But when President Tinubu came in, he used the other template. Instead of the state governors taking him to the Supreme Court, the federal government approached the Supreme Court to interpret this law once and for all. And that's a bygone because the law has been interpreted, even though we're not yet seeing the effect fully. But at least we now know that the federal government, the state government, the local government ought to have autonomy when it comes to finance. So we expect that the funds coming to the local government, for example, I've said it over and over, at the moment we're seeing average of between 400 and 500 million naira coming to each local government since June 2023, which is already 24 months now. And unfortunately, we've not yet been seeing the effect of such funds. And that should be the main focus and conversation across the board.
Exactly, that's the focus because, I mean, you've continued to reel out information on social media, and this is a revelation to a lot of Nigerians. And beyond what you're doing, for those of us that get to do a bit of research beyond the social media jamboree, yes, there's so much that's supposed to come to the local government. As a matter of fact, that has been getting to local government, but there is little or nothing to show for it. So it makes the burden on the federal government a bit heavier with people who will constantly focus their attention, I mean, all of the anger in the land on the federal government. But let's talk about the responsibilities of different tiers of government. You've established a bit on health, education, and infrastructure, but are there specific services beyond that and infrastructure that local governments are responsible for providing based on what they are supposed to receive?
Well, obviously there are now these things are simple to look into. It's more or less like every responsibility that we expect from the federal government and from the state government. We have bits of it being shared to the local government. It's that simple. For example, when you're talking about university education, which is tertiary, you expect that that comes from the federal and the state government, right? When you were talking about the secondary school, you accept for federal unity schools, you expect that to be from the state government. So my point is, whether in education, in infrastructures, in primary healthcare center, everything that has to do with day-to-day activities that will bring good governance and system to the people, it is simply cut into pieces in such a way that we can easily access it. Okay, so now Nigerians, the truth is, since 1999, we've not been asking for too much. We're simply asking for the basics, irrespective of the political party in power.
Right.
Do the road. If electricity, which is now the fund, which has now been devolved, and each state can have their electricity generated. If electricity is available, which is power, if roads are okay, if tertiary education system is functioning, I mean, we will talk less about the federal government or the government who is in power, because by tradition and culture, Nigerians are practically independent. Just make the basics available and people will find their ways. And you know, like you mentioned that what other parts are function of local government. Those marketplaces that we are seeing, they are function of local government, the marriage registry and all that. I mean, people go to local governments for marriage registry almost every week. You see them on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and there are other IGR they generate from those places. We're not even talking about that. The focus is still from the federal allocation.
Exactly.
That we are seeing, but we're not seeing, at least, even if it is just 50% to start with. I believe that in the past 24 months, if they've used 50% of what is coming in, nobody will possibly have time for federal government or all the lamentation that we have around us.
Okay, talking about IGR, I like that you mentioned that because it was one of the points that we're supposed to tackle this evening. Yes, local government get to generate revenues, and with what is coming from the federal government, do you think that Nigerians are not focusing enough on these local government councils? Do you think that even the local government councils are shying away from their responsibilities because of the knowledge Nigerians have about what governance is supposed to be? And speaking about the specific services and infrastructure, I need us to clarify some of these things. You've talked about markets being built and, yes, marriage registries. I had to ask that question because we've seen on social media where certain states will say that they are giving back to society or empowering people, and you see comments from people saying that, oh, something that a councillor, an ordinary councillor, if that's the word to use, would do elsewhere is what you are praising a governor for in other regions. There's a part of maybe a government building balls, and people are coming to say that, Abba, what is it? What is about this? This is not even the responsibility of a state government. This is the least that even a councillor should do. So how do we put this thing side by side? Because you are saying that, yes, from tertiary to secondary to primary, we are supposed to understand these things. But trust me, a lot of people might be educated but not literate enough in information, in matters that has to do with governance. So please help us.
Okay, let's break it down this way in a practical way. Your state is just one of the states, 36 states of the Federation and the FCT.
Right.
Your state has 33 local governments. So let me take Ibadan Southwest as one of the 33 local governments in Oyo State. I will use that template in a very practical way that we can discuss about.
All right.
For the past 24 months, Oyo State, okay, let me use, like I said, Ibadan Southwest, out of the 33 local government, has gotten an average of 500 million naira every month which is 24 months now. If you calculate that, it means Ibadan Southwest alone must have gotten nothing less than 12 billion in 24 months after subsidy removal. Ibadan Southwest is further divided into 12 wards. Those wards are easy to access. Why? Because when we were having election, everybody could easily go to their polling units. Those polling units are functioning in each wards. So nobody should say that they don't know where the road to wards in local governments are, because they know where to go and monitor their votes during election. Now, assuming that, for example, this last May federal allocation to Ibadan Southwest got around 560 million, when Oyo State got about more than 15 billion. Now, I'm not focusing on the state or the federal, because that's the secondary aspect of our focus. The honest truth is that's secondary focus. If you do the road to my house or my community, I will focus less on you, because that's what primarily affects me and my household. Okay, so Ibadan Southwest has 12 wards, with 500 million coming to Ibadan Southwest average per month. Let's just say that within the past 24 months, assuming Ibadan Southwest said, okay, I have 12 wards to attend to. Every month of these 24 months, I have been focusing on just one primary healthcare center in each ward. That will be 12 primary healthcare centers in Ibadan Southwest alone. Let's assume that in every allocation alone, they focus on just one primary healthcare center in Ibadan Southwest. Out of 560 million, they got at least, that something is going on out of the 12 wards. The remaining 11 wards will know that it will soon come to a turn. At least there is a primary healthcare center close to us within this local government that we can run to. Now think about one primary school in Ibadan Southwest out of those 12 wards also, and the local government chairman and the council say, okay, we are picking just one local government school in one of the wards to focus on. From that every allocation alone, we're talking of one primary healthcare center. We're talking about one primary school to be upgraded and be given facelift. Let's say that they look into one particular ward within Ibadan Southwest and say that, oh, this particular road, let us concentrate on this. Now, out of that 560 million gotten as federal allocation, I'm not even talking about the internally generated revenue or whatever the state is using to support. Let's say out of that 560 million, the allocation for these three projects says 300 million. Are we saying that we will not see new things within the local government? These things are basic. Now, these things are basic and practicable if we want to follow through. That's the point I'm making. Now, we are talking about roads to farm. Those farms are not at the federal level. They are in each wards in the local government.
But let me come in, Mr. Taiwo.
Okay, thank you.
Do you think that this money is, the way you are mentioning those figures, is quite interesting, but do you think that this local government chairman actually have a control over the total money coming to the local government?
No. We all know that let's not play as though we are not living in this society. We all know that the allocation is primarily in the hands of state government, except Lagos State, and it's simple. It's what you can see. Over the past few months, you will notice, if you are conversant with, you are active on social media, you will notice that it's only local government chairmen from Lagos, from Koshofe local government, from Amuwodofil, from Ketu Agboyin. They're the one that have been displaying what they were doing. Now, imagine that we have that across the 774 local government. Do you think I care about how much they primarily? Do you think I will care about how much they said they bought a block of block?
But don't you think that is
Acres?
don't you think that is happening and these local governments or state governments are getting away with it because citizens are not asking the right questions and are not channeling their energy into the right angle? Because there's a part of the federal government, in a minute before we go on a break, do you think that there's a role the federal government can play in allocating fund and following through, overseeing national development initiative even to
Now,
the
now,
local
now,
government?
now, please let us not go there because one of the presidential candidates in 2023 said some things that were funny that I don't expect from any educated folks, let alone politicians that have been governors, saying that the federal government shouldn't have released the fund to states in the way it was really. This thing is a function of constitution. It was clearly in the Federal Account Allocation Committee. It was a constitutional issue. And I've given an instance that what the person was saying is purely what doesn't make any sense because the federal government cannot tell the state what to spend their money on. And I can quickly give you an instance. Remember when President Buhari came in 2015 and because of huge debt at the state level, and he had to give bailout fund twice. I'm sure that Nigerians will remember that now.
Right.
What happened to that fund? Now, there was no constitutional provision that said that it is a must for the federal government to do that. But because of what we're going through then, when President Buhari came in, he gave that as a kind of succor and a soft loan to the state government. That is how far the federal government can go. You cannot force them. I still have videos of President Buhari there, after a while, trying to beg them that these funds that you guys collected was expected to pay for you to pay salaries and all that. I remember a particular state government in the southwest saying that how will he collect such fund, bailout fund, and spend everything on salary. But that was why the federal government bailed you guys out.
Right.
But unfortunately, it's a matter of constitution. The people that can force it is the media, as we're talking about it
Right.
now, and the NGOs and CSOs. The more we talk about it, the more we sensitize the people, and the more the people begins to understand these things and get focused on it, you will discover that whether you like it or not, you've got to improve on it because people will be asking questions and election will soon come again. And you have no answer
Right.
to that.
All right, I like your submission so far because the kind of show we have, of course, it's important for us to continue to shine the light on conversations like this, just so we can hold leaders accountable regardless of what position of authority you are in. But please stay with us, Mr. Taiwo. We would go on a break now. When we return, we'll talk more about what citizens need to know and who to ask questions. Please stay with us. Glad to have you stay with the People's Voice on VOP TV. Very brilliant submission so far. You would agree with me that it's been quite informative listening to Mr. Taiwo Ajakai. But it's time to focus on what citizens need to know and who to ask questions, highlighting the importance of citizen engagement and awareness in ensuring transparency and accountability in governance. Mr. Taiwo.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome back.
All right, thank you for staying with us. What information should citizens demand from their local government officials regarding these Faac allocations and project implementations? Because you've made a lot of revelations. We would always be here to keep talking about these issues, and I hope that you will never say no when we call you to help us shine the light on these issues again. But how can they access this information?
The informations are always available. Funny enough, these informations I didn't generate them from anywhere. I just pick them online. The budget has it, the statistics has it. Different government parastatal will post this information every month. The point is, we are not. The issue is we're not focusing on them, so you can only find what you are seeking.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
it's
agree
not.
with you on
Yeah.
that. That's why I said how,
Okay,
because
so
these informations are
yeah,
out there truly. But the way you break it down varies from people to people. And also, you would agree with me that the media space or the social media space is clouded with a lot of misinformation and misinterpretation of what these informations are supposed to be. So, who helps the
yeah.
people?
Well, that's why we have non-governmental organizations. Okay, and for example, I just mentioned budgets. Most of these informations, non-governmental organizations push them out. Individuals also push them out. When you go to federal government, Ministry of Finance, you will see them there. When you go to federal government websites, you will see these things being published every month. Now, the more we have these things, I remember you were asking about what should be the focus of citizens and what matters to them. It's not in my place to ask that to answer that question because what matters to me as a citizen, they are basic, and I believe it's so basic to every other one that every other person that we don't even need to pontificate about it. The roads matter to the people. The primary healthcare centers matter to the people. Listen, most of us grew up going to public schools, and we did not die. We didn't, and we are doing well. Okay?
Right.
How come suddenly all of us have our kids in private schools and we are paying heavily from what we say is not enough? Now, here's the picture of what I painted 2 years ago after subsidy was removed and people were talking about palliative. You can still go online and check it. I said the palliatives that Nigerians needed but never asked for. We don't need those rice and beans palliative, believe me. We don't need them because it will be corrupted, and it's been corrupted when they began to share it at the state and local level again. We don't need them. What we need is simple. We need those roads. We need the water to run again. We need the primary schools to be functional. We need the secondary schools to be a standard. If that could have been done within 12, 24 months, what do you think some of us will do? If, for example, I'm paying 200,000 per kids in a particular school, from the same salary that I said is not enough. Once I see that the primary school or secondary school in my local environment, which is public school, is to standard, it's common sense. I will have to move that child from the public school and drop him or her in that school, and I will be paying maybe 10% of what I've been paying in public school. Now, what that will invariably cause is it will force the private schools also to begin to compete financially in terms of fee, and it will force them to bring down their school fees.
Right.
If that happened, that would have been a palliative to a common Nigerian. If the roads at the local government level, if we've been constantly focusing on them, it means that these roads will be okay. What that implies to me as a Nigerian, as part of what I need as palliative, is I will not have to be going to the mechanic every weekend or every 2 days again. That money that I have been donating to them will come back to my purse and it will stay there. That's a better palliative. That's the reason for the subsidy removal. Because if we're talking about subsidy removal, it doesn't mean that the money flew away. The money is coming directly from our purses now instead of government releasing that fund that was never there. Okay, so these are the points. If the primary healthcare centers are okay at our local level, who will be going to private hospitals? Okay, we will go there and we'll spend less. The little that we said we're getting will become more in our hands because the basics are working. And from that point, we can now be directing the entire stress or strength on the federal government to concentrate on power sector, and now state government also to concentrate on that. Once we have these things, the basics in place, Nigerians are ready to go. It's that basic. Nigerians are not waiting for anybody to come and be spoon-feeded at least.
Okay.
Most sensible Nigerians won't do that.
Yeah, you've talked about Nigerians not waiting for anyone to spoon feed us, and that the needs are basic for a good number of Nigerians. But yes, the federal allocation ratio is obviously more favorable to the federal government. Your emphasis on local government and how much the local government can do. Is it you sincerely talking about the way to go for Nigeria, or are you trying to make a case for the federal government?
See, there are two ways to it. If you want to play politics with it, we can play it, and nobody will arrest me for that. I'm a Nigerian with constitutional rights
Right.
to have my choice. So I can choose to support the government of the day, which I am anyway. That's the political aspect of it. But that's not what we're going to eat at the end of the day. He's not going to come and fix the road to my house. He's not going to be the one to pay the school fees of my kids. I'm only talking about that, which will constantly be the major issue, irrespective of the political party affiliation or whoever comes into power. The federal government will not come and fix the road in our local basis, whether we like it or not, either now or later. The federal government will not do that. The state government doing that, which I have seen some, like you mentioned, celebration of funny things, that the state government is building local road, obviously from the local government fund that is in their custody, and they're taking credit for that, and everybody is making noise about that. I said, this is it's embarrassing. And it's better for us to begin to separate these things. Once we're able to separate it, the state government, the state governors, governors in particular, that will begin to be cautious of the kind of projects they are celebrating and releasing fanfare for. Because how can you say that a state governor came to fix, for example, a particular road in Ibadan Southwest with 12 wards, and you are celebrating it for goodness sake? It's not your fund. You are not supposed to be the one to do that. If you are taking responsibility of that, you should also tell me what happened to the fund that went to that local government at that moment. Do you understand? Once we're able to sort these things out, you will discover that we will play politics and nobody will stop us from playing that,
Right.
either now or later. But once we want to focus on governance, that will be a level playing ground for all of us to at least come together in one accord and look into it. That this one affects all of us, either now or later.
All right, thank you very much for joining the People's Voice, Mr. Taiwo Ajakaya, and thank you for sharing your insights with us. We hope that you will be available next time we reach out to you.
Okay, I'll try. This one was really impromptu. We're just talking about it.
We really do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, as we conclude, it's clear that Faac allocations play a vital role in funding public services and infrastructure projects across Nigeria, whether from federal to state to local government. Governments at all levels have a responsibility to utilize these funds effectively, ensuring transparency, accountability, and tangible benefits for every citizen. As Nigeria continues to navigate its development journey, it's essential for government to prioritize citizens' needs, ensuring effective resource management and driving meaningful progress. By working together, we can build a brighter future for all Nigerians. Until next time, my name is Adefunke Jaisipin. Good afternoon.